It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. A new picture and a personal message from the Princess of Wales. She says she will attend tomorrow's Trooping the Colour parade. Euro 2024 has officially kicked off, and the hosts, Germany, were too much for Scotland, who were thrashed 5-1. Nigel Farage seizes the moment and declares himself the main opposition to Labour after one poll puts reform ahead of the Tories. Fears that salad in supermarket sandwiches may have been the source of an E. coli outbreak. And a landmark moment for South Africa as the ANC enters into a power-sharing government. Plus, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. The Princess of Wales has revealed she will be at tomorrow's Trooping the Colour parade to mark the King's birthday. In a personal message, Kate said that she's making good progress, but she's not out of the woods yet. It will be the first time that she's appeared in public since she announced her cancer diagnosis in March, and the first significant update on her health. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills reports.
It's the first time we've seen the princess since March. A picture again to try and stop speculation as she shared the most personal of messages. I've been blown away by all the kind messages of support and encouragement over the last couple of months, she wrote. It really has made the world of difference to William and me and has helped us both through some of the harder times. I am making good progress, but as anyone going through chemotherapy will know, there are good days and bad days. On those bad days, you feel weak, tired, and you have to give in to your body resting. But on the good days, when you feel stronger, you want to make the most of feeling well. My treatment is ongoing and will be for a few more months. On the days I feel well enough, it is a joy to engage with school life, spend personal time on the things that give me energy and positivity, as well as starting to do a little more work from home. I am looking forward to attending the King's birthday parade this weekend with my family and hope to join a few public engagements over the summer, but equally knowing I'm not out of the woods yet. I am learning how to be patient, especially with uncertainty, taking each day as it comes, listening to my body and allowing myself to take this much-needed time to heal. Thank you so much for your continued understanding and to all of you who have bravely shared your stories with me. This was Kate at Trooping last year, her 3 children enjoying the day. Again, we're told this year she will be with them in a carriage, watch the ceremonial events and see the traditional fly past as long as she feels well enough.
This is one of the peak royal weeks of the year, so it was inevitable that people were going to be asking, where is the princess? How is the princess? And in as much as they want to keep things, private, I think what we've been told will just sort of keep people, the vast majority of people will be reassured by this and will now hear the message, she's taking things one step at a time.
It was in March that she revealed her cancer diagnosis.
The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present.
Since then, Prince William has been attending engagements alone and giving some updates.
Oh, I was going to ask you if your wife was getting any better.
Yes, she'd love to be here today.
Just like her video back in March, there is an honesty and an openness to her message that we don't often hear from members of the royal family. She's talking to us not as a princess, but more as a wife, a mother, and acknowledging that she is just like the thousands of other people going through cancer treatment and having to deal with all the challenges that it can bring. We keep being reminded this doesn't mean that she's back to full-time duties. She may attend more engagements in the coming weeks, but her and her doctors will both decide how much it's wise for her to do. Her first public appearance will bring huge excitement. Already people were setting up camp outside Buckingham Palace.
We'll be giving cheers. All right, Kate, we love you, Kate. It will be.
It's brilliant for the country. It's going to uplift the country because we've all been concerned for her.
That will be an exciting time.
But her message is the same. She still needs privacy, time, and the comfort of her family as she continues with her recovery.
And Rhiannon Mills joins us live now outside Buckingham Palace. Rhiannon, tomorrow all eyes will be on Kate as she appears on the Buckingham Palace balcony just behind you there.
That's right. That's where all eyes will be trained. First of all, on the gates when we first see Kate and the children heading out there in a carriage, and then, as they head back, and then we will see that remarkable balcony moment, which obviously always draws a crowd, but even more so this year. I have to say, when we heard that there was going to be this medical update, you can't help but fear the worst, really, because it's been such a difficult time for the royal family. But there are definitely positives from the messaging that we're hearing this evening. The fact that she's been doing some work behind the scenes, the fact that she's hoping to do some other engagements as the weeks go on. But there is this big caveat. For example, with tomorrow, she's hoping to take part in all of the elements, but they keep saying that that might have to change at the last minute if she's not feeling up to it. And that ultimately is what's going to happen, I think, as the months go on. After all, she herself has said that her preventative chemotherapy is still ongoing. She's also said that she is having to be patient. I think there is an urgency amongst her, just as there was with the King, to kind of get back to what they call a sense of normality. And in some ways, tomorrow, Trooping the Colour is the perfect first engagement for her to appear at. It is ultimately a family moment. It's a rare time in the annual calendar where all of those family members are actually able to get together. We knew that the King was going to be able to attend a couple of weeks ago, and this was always going to be the family coming out with the public showing their support for him. And now I think it's going to be an even greater moment when the family again publicly is showing their support for the King and Kate as they both continue their cancer recovery journeys.
Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills with the latest there from Buckingham Palace. Rhiannon, thank you. Now, as opening matches go, they don't come much harder than playing Germany at home. And for Scotland, it was always going to be a daunting task. It's the first time the Tartan Army has travelled to a major tournament for 26 years. But the opening of Euro 2024 was all about the host, who mastered the field and won 5-1. Well, tens of thousands of Scotland fans were watching in Munich, and so was our sports correspondent Rob Harris, who joins me now. Disappointing news, obviously, for Scotland fans, but it's not over yet.
Yeah, hugely disappointing night for Scotland, but this was a game realistically they knew that was going to be challenging to win. The disappointment will be a 5-1 thumping, a hugely damaging defeat for them, but still 2 games to save it. But really, this game seemed over after 10 minutes. That's when we had the opening goal of the night of this first game at Euro 2024. It came from Florian Wirtz. He got all the way through the defence. It was completely exposed. And then we had the second goal in the 19th minute. This came from Jamal Musiala. Really, this was a powerful strike that the goalkeeper, Angus Gunn, just could not stop. There was a bit of a VAR reprieve for Scotland, but then not just as half-time's approaching, and you can see why. There was this lunging tackle from Ryan Porteous. It saw him sent off. Scotland reduced then to 10 men, and this, the penalty converted by Kai Havertz. So that was the struggle that Scotland were facing, a 3-0 deficit at half-time. Perhaps then it looked like they might have started to limit the damage. They conceded then in the second half from a strike from Fulkrug. Then a consolation goal, as it would turn out, for Scotland. It was Rudiger who managed to deflect in Scott McKenna's header. But the final say on this game came from Emre Can, scoring the 5th goal for Germany. The hosts getting off to an absolutely brilliant start, and disappointment for the thousands, tens of thousands of members of the Tartan Army who made it all the way here to Munich. I'm joined now by a couple of them. How was that for you? Really disappointing?
Yeah, tough result to take, but a fantastic experience to be a part of. Yeah. So, but yeah, Germany was always going to be the toughest game of the group for us. Yeah. So it's on to Wednesday for us now.
What did you make of that?
I didn't think we did our best, but I think we did quite well. Obviously missing Lyndon Dykes, but I think it was a good game. At least we got a goal.
Germany, they are pretty strong, aren't they? It's always going to be challenging, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're phenomenal. They've actually come into their own. The sort of past 8 to 10 months has been unbelievable. So we weren't expecting much in terms of result.
And you've still got the games against Hungary and Switzerland to turn it around.
Absolutely. Huge 2 fixtures coming up for us that we'll hopefully, get some points from. Yeah.
Well, enjoy the rest of the night if you can do.
Yep.
So, for Scotland, it's on to those remaining games on what has been a disappointing opening night. But they have, for the first time ever, scored in an open game at the Euros. So maybe it's a good omen as they try to qualify from a group for the first ever time at a tournament.
Exactly. Rob Harris with the latest there in Munich. Rob, thank you. Well, let's go to Scotland now. Our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillis is with some fans in Dunfermline now. How have they taken it, Conor?
A day of excitement, a day of hope. 5-1, it doesn't matter to this crowd here in Dunfermline. 3,000 people packed in to this stadium, this football stadium, one of the biggest gatherings here in Scotland to watch at that moment. And the crowd were in fine voice. Let's chat to the Stephen family who are from Dunfermline. How did you find that?
Well, I think it was a good game. Obviously we didn't win, but it was great. I think we played very well, but obviously we didn't win, but very optimistic.
That's it, you're staying positive, aren't you?
Yeah.
How did you think it went? I mean, obviously 5-1's not ideal, but I mean, we are where we are.
Yeah, it's been an all right match, hoping for better through the next few stages.
There you are, football pundit and you one day. Mum and Dad, what a game, yeah?
It was a tough one, wasn't it? It's the opener, there's a lot of expectation. We didn't perform, but we still got 2 games and we can still qualify, so who cares?
You're a mega fan. You've got all the badges here. You've been to all the matches.
I've been to a fair few. Can't be in Germany with all our pals, so where else better to be than here tonight? It's been a good night.
Exactly. 200,000 Scots in Germany, but here we are in Scotland, and the atmosphere's been brilliant, hasn't it?
It's brilliant, and we still believe in the team. They're going to get 6 points for the next 2 games, and we'll go through.
Yeah. We're getting out of the group.
Perfect, thank you very much. Well, 5-1 today. We've got another match on Wednesday with Switzerland. Everyone will be hoping that it all goes well that time. Back to you.
Conor Gillis with the latest there with some fans in Dunfermline where hope is very much still alive. Now, Nigel Farage has challenged Sir Keir Starmer to a head-to-head debate, claiming he is now the main opposition party in the UK. His confidence comes after an opinion poll put Reform a single percentage point ahead of the Conservatives for the first time. Rishi Sunak says he's fighting for every vote and has warned that those leaning towards voting for Reform that they would be handing Labour a blank cheque. Our political correspondent Rob Powell has more.
Congratulations on the election.
If only that were the case back home. Rishi Sunak flew to Italy for the G7 summit as a poll put the rival Reform Party ahead of the Tories for the first time.
If that poll and all these things were replicated on election day, what that would be is handing a blank cheque to Keir Starmer. So I'm going to continue fighting very hard to make sure everyone understands the choice that's ahead of them.
This is the point the YouGov polling lines crossed over and Reform moved ahead of the Tories. An important moment, even if in most other polls, the Conservatives are still ahead. It puts this man once again in focus. Nigel Farage demanding an invite to TV debates and calling for a head-to-head with Sir Keir Starmer.
A Conservative vote in the Red Wall is now a wasted vote. We are the challengers to Labour. We are now the real opposition.
But with Reform unlikely to take many actual seats, what's the end game?
Isn't the most realistic way of you becoming leader of the opposition after this election to join the Tories? Can you rule that out?
Boring, boring, boring. No, they're done. The brand's done. This isn't just a sort of change that happens election to election. This is a wholesale rejection by a significant number of Conservative voters.
Is that you ruling out then?
So, no, the brand's broken. It's gone. It's done.
Yes, this is only one poll, but moments like this can have a psychological impact in a campaign. And that might be why the Tory line has changed to essentially urging voters not to give Labour a big majority. But that's risky as it comes close to essentially admitting defeat.
And if the battle is lost, constituencies like Rochester and Stroud in Kent could be crucial. The Tories should be riding high here, but UKIP took this seat a decade ago, and at the Temple Farm Working Men's Club, there's some support for reform, but most people simply fed up with the game of politics. What will you be doing come voting day, do you think?
Having a beer. Reform's going to shake the whole barrel up, isn't it?
I think, if anything, I'd vote for Nigel.
Why?
I don't know, I suppose he's like the normal people, ain't he? Like all the others, they're not like us, are they?
Still enjoying the trappings of power, but halfway through this campaign, faith may be slipping for a Prime Minister and a party badly in need of some sort of intervention. Rob Powell, Sky News.
Well, throughout the election campaign, Sky News has been speaking to a panel of voters. Laura Bundock has been finding out how they're feeling after a week of manifesto launches from the Conservatives, Labour and the Liberal Democrats.
The manifesto moment, a mainstay of election campaigns. But does any of this match what's on people's minds?
What I'm interested in is about the NHS policy.
Anything that helps with the cost of living.
I think the Triple Lock Plus is of particular interest.
The main policies that I'll be interested in are two, really: immigration and levels of taxation.
The Sky News YouGov voters panel pored over every pledge as each manifesto launched, starting with the Lib Dems.
They're saying they're going to increase carers allowance by £20 a week. This would benefit me and my husband and I, because a carers allowance is the lowest benefit of all.
I like some of the stuff on police and crime. For God's sake, let go of the EU. We've moved on.
The Conservatives claim their plan is working. But did it work on our voters?
I think the general purpose of the Conservative Party manifesto is carry on as we're doing already. Some of the things I like the look of, the maintaining of the triple lock.
It just seems like they're throwing the younger generation onto a bus and just trying to consolidate that grey vote.
As for Labour leading the polls, but did their steps to change our panel?
My thoughts on the Labour policies are that they're all relevant, especially those for education and on the environment.
The NHS reforms sound very good, and several of the other policies also sound good. But once again, how on earth are we going to pay for all of this?
Manifestos are meant to help make minds up, but a majority of our panel still undecided.
The elephant in the room for all parties is still the funding, and it's still not quite clear.
I'm going to vote tactically. Again, voting for someone I don't want to vote for in order that someone I don't want to win not to win.
I still don't find either party leader to be trustworthy or personable. And that's really frustrating.
Policies pitched and promises made. But it seems manifestos alone won't move our panel. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
Several types of pre-packed sandwiches and salads sold in major supermarkets have been recalled because of a possible contamination with E. coli. The bacteria has not been detected in the products, but they are being recalled as a precaution. Experts have been trying to identify what caused the outbreak, which happened over a week ago. Sky's Thomas Moore reports.
Greencore supplies thousands of sandwiches and wraps every day to supermarkets around the country. It's recalled 45 lines as a precaution as public health officials narrow down the source of the E. coli bug that has put dozens of people in hospital. The products affected are being cleared from shelves at stores including Asda, Boots, Co-op, Morrison's and Sainsbury's. All have use-by dates up to between the 15th and 17th of June. The Food Standards Agency, which is leading the investigation into the outbreak, said E. coli has not been detected in the products, but people are being urged not to eat them and to return them to stores for a refund. In a statement, the agency said, "This is a complex investigation and we have worked swiftly with relevant businesses and the local authorities concerned to narrow down the wide range of foods consumed to a small number of salad leaf products that have been used in sandwiches, wraps, subs and rolls. Following thorough food chain analysis, these products are being recalled as a precaution." The UK Health Security Agency issued an alert over an unusual rise in E. coli cases earlier this month, and an investigation was launched to track down the source.
If you are in a factory where you're processing salad leaves, it gets washed, but the water might not be particularly clean. And if there's contamination in the system, they might not be washed that thoroughly, not in the way that you would do it at home. And so if there's some bacteria on there, they might have got in from the water, and then they're not necessarily going to be washed off. Also, I mean, it could be in the soil where the leaves have been grown.
Updated figures show 211 people are now confirmed to be affected. That's up from 113 last week. All had samples taken before May the 31st. At least 67 people have been admitted to hospital. The strain of E. coli behind the outbreak produces a toxin that causes severe diarrhoea. In some cases, usually children or people with weakened immune systems, it can result in kidney failure. This is not the end of the investigation. Other suppliers may be involved, but have so far not been identified. Thomas Moore, Sky News.
A sixth form student from Brighton who drew up plans for a suicide bomb attack on a local synagogue has been jailed for 8 years for terrorism offences. Mason Reynolds was a student studying bricklaying and roofing, doing part-time labouring work on the side. The 19-year-old told a fellow Telegram user he wanted to strap multiple pipe bombs to his chest and blow himself up inside a synagogue. Tesla shareholders have voted to restore Elon Musk's pay package of $44 billion, or £35 billion, the largest pay packet by far of any company chief executive in history. It comes after a judge in Delaware ruled against it earlier this year. And on the final day of the G7 summit in Puglia, the Pope joined world leaders as they focused on migration and artificial intelligence. They agreed to instigate a coalition crackdown on people smuggling, a key issue for the host, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Well, the Russian president has warned that his standoff with the West is now close to what he described as the point of no return. Vladimir Putin said he would call a ceasefire if Ukraine withdrew its troops from all territories that Moscow has partially occupied and abandoned its ambition to join NATO. President Zelensky said it was the kind of ultimatum Hitler would make and called the move offensive to common sense. Our Moscow correspondent Ivor Bennett reports.
It's not a building that screams peace, but it was here at Russia's imposing Ministry of Foreign Affairs that Vladimir Putin put forward his plan for a ceasefire in Ukraine, telling Kiev, pull out of your eastern territories and the war will end.
As soon as Kyiv declares that they are ready for such a decision, begin withdrawing troops and officially abandon plans to join NATO, we will immediately, at the same moment, order a ceasefire and start negotiations. I'm not talking about freezing the conflict, but about its final resolution.
But it's not a resolution Ukraine agrees to, dismissing the plan as tantamount to surrender.
He says after that he will stop and there will be no frozen war. But these are exactly the kind of things that Hitler would say.
That won't bother Russia. This was about putting Moscow's side across first ahead of a Ukraine peace summit in Switzerland. Why should the West trust you?
Frankly, I don't care whether the West trusts us or not. The West must understand the real situation. They don't understand anything except real politics.
There's plenty of that going on, like Russia's warships in Cuba, a spectacle for the locals, but a warning to the West, there to conduct military drills on America's doorstep.
Despite the talk of peace deals here, relations between Russia and the West have taken a sharp turn for the worse in recent days. Close to the point of no return was how Vladimir Putin put it. It gives the sense that we're suddenly moving more quickly along the path to escalation, and it makes you wonder, where does this all end?
On the outskirts of Moscow, another war from another era. They're reenacting a battle against Nazi forces from 1941. The Kremlin portrays the war in Ukraine in the same way, that it's under attack from a fascist regime. And plenty here believe it.
Under attack, of course. We're under every possible attack. Nonetheless, truth and strength are on our side.
We need to show these reenactments so the young will be ready.
So when it comes to Russia's current war, it feels like there's a long way to go before it ends. Ivor Bennett, Sky News, Moscow.
And let's bring you some breaking news now out of South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa has been re-elected as the president of South Africa for a second term. And this comes after a deal between the governing ANC, the African National Congress, and the main opposition, Democratic Alliance. They have agreed to form a government of national unity along with two smaller opposition parties. So this news was expected, but just confirmation that Cyril Ramaphosa has been re-elected as South African president. And finally, before heading to the G7 today, the Pope had a very different audience, inviting comedians to the Vatican. Stephen Colbert, Chris Rock, Whoopi Goldberg and Jimmy Fallon were among the group of more than 100 comedians from 15 different countries celebrating the importance of humor.
To be with all my fellow comedians, some of whom I've been good friends with for many years, in that environment was quite strange. All of us were thinking, how did this happen? Why are we here, and when are they going to throw us out?
Because I did the audiobook for his memoir, Life. I said, mi chiamo Stephen Colbert, ho letto il tuo libro aereo. Like that. Is that close? Was that close? And he said like this, give me your hand. He goes like this. He goes, ah.
And that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's papers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by Conservative Home's Deputy Editor Henry Hill and The Guardian columnist Zoe Williams. Welcome both. Among the stories we'll be discussing this on the front of The Guardian. The headline, Tory leadership hopefuls jostle to replace Sunak. We'll be right back with that and the breaking news about the King's birthday honours list.